bit later. As we said, just 30 miles away from President Trump's rally last night, Senator Bernie Sanders was holding his own rally on the eve of New Hampshire's primary. Sanders kicked off his final event in the Granite State in front of more than 7,500 people, packed into an arena at the University of New Hampshire in Durham. In his remarks, Sanders didn't attack any of his Democratic opponents. Instead, he repeatedly went after President Trump, and he was set up by a number of fired-up campaign surrogates.
We are going to remove our fellow citizen, our neo-fascist gangster from the White House, now in Manchester. He's got to go. You got to go. You got to go.
That's the thing about Bernie. We love him. And we want to fight for him, and we want to fight until he's president. And we want to show up.
Senator Bernie Sanders has spent his entire life fighting for the right thing when it was unpopular. It is hard to stand up and fight for someone you don't know when it's not the popular thing to do, and he has done it his whole damn life.
This turnout tells me why we're going to win here in New Hampshire, why we're going to win the Democratic nomination, and why we are going to defeat the most dangerous president in the modern history of America, Donald Trump. The reason that we are going to win is the American people, no matter what their political views may be, are sick and tired of a president who is a pathological liar, who is running a corrupt administration, who is a bully and a vindictive person, who is a racist, a sexist, a xenophobe, a homophobe, and a religious bigot. And those are his nice qualities. If we are prepared to stand together, last that I heard, the 1% may be very powerful, but there are a hell of a lot more people in the 99% than in the 1%. Tomorrow is an historically important day. Let us go forward. Let us have the largest voter turnout in the history of the New Hampshire primary. Let's win this thing. Let's transform America. Thank you.
You know, like the Strokes in 2001, who were playing there last night. Bernie's at the top of his game. All it did was take him a heart attack to kick him into that final gear. You forgot this guy had a heart attack.
Listen.
A couple of months ago, he is on fire. And I've got to say, his Larry David imitation when he goes, liar, is he's...
Who's imitating
He's
who?
been working the Larry David imitation. And I got to say, at this point in the campaign, it's already dead on. Now, you know, I was sitting there thinking, okay, 7,500 at a Bernie rally, that's pretty good. But Trump got like, what, 12, maybe 12,000? But then I remember the rally we went to, the Trump rally we went to in New Hampshire the night before. I remember Trump and everybody else, they were all bragging about him getting 4,000 people out.
Right.
That was astounding. So to put things in proper perspective, you got a sitting president of the United States. I would guess if Barack Obama had spoken when he was president of the United States, kicking off his campaign, he would have gotten over 10,000 people here. But as far as these people running, Bernie's 7,500, far more impressive than almost doubled what Trump got here at this same point in his 2016 campaign.
The energy is there, the enthusiasm is there, and they're all there because they truly believe in him. They sound just as fervent as Trump supporters for Trump.
Yeah, the thing I will say, Willie, the thing I've learned is through the years that when people start calculate. I'm going to vote for so-and-so because maybe he'll
he can't
be able to do
Right.
this for me. Or maybe I'll vote for so-and-so because the candidate I love can't win. I've just never seen that work. That was the thinking. I heard that 1,000 times when Bob Dole was running. In 1996, I heard it time and time again, even with Mitt Romney in 12. Well, he's the best, and I guess he'd edit it. But here, I mean, what works are people completely swept off their feet, like Donald Trump in 2016, like Barack Obama in 2008. You've got to say right now, Bernie Sanders is that candidate. I mean, Mayor Pete's not far behind because you get a lot of the same enthusiasm with Mayor Pete. But right now, those are the two candidates
with the enthusiasm,
with the real enthusiasm, the electricity.
There's no one in this field who touches the enthusiasm of Bernie Sanders supporters, and it's been there for a long time, which is part of the reason for it. He had all these people who were out last night. That huge crowd for him at the University of New Hampshire was there for him 4 years ago as well. And as John points out, it's not a great surprise. Remember, Bernie Sanders won this primary 4 years ago. He defeated the eventual Democratic presidential nominee by 22 points.
Right.
He does well in this state. He's going to do well tonight.
And a Clinton,
yeah,
who had the historic ties to the state. The Bill Clinton here, the Clintons had such bonds in New Hampshire. The notion that anybody would beat a Clinton in this state seemed inconceivable. And then to have that Clinton lose by 22 points was an incredible shock 4 years ago. So I gotta say, there's no reason why there was any reason to think that Bernie Sanders shouldn't have been the front runner here from pillar to post, except for the fact that he seemed, by in the fall to be sort of fading, and people didn't take him seriously. Elizabeth Warren was on the rise, and then the heart attack seemed to really turn. I mean, that heart attack followed by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez stepping up and endorsing him and bringing in, kind of reaffirming the notion that he was the champion of the left and of the young progressives. Was a turning point in the campaign, I think, in a lot of ways. And from that moment forward, he has, been on the march.
You can't say enough about timing in politics. Timing is everything. Bernie, there was a time when Bernie was, every morning, we were talking. Everybody that came on, all the people, you look at the polls, Bernie was an afterthought. He was a 2016 Plymouth in a 2020 world. And they wanted the 2020 Tesla. They didn't want the 2016 Plymouth. Of course, is there a Plymouth in 2016?
Oh, my God.
But anyway, but it's like his time had passed. And Elizabeth Warren was taking his support. She was going straight up. Now you look at the timing here. He is hitting stride at the perfect time.
He is, and I'm not sure he ever really lost that core base of support that he has had all the way along. And I will also say, having walked into dozens, and John and I were a lot of these events together in 2016, I mean, dozens of rock concert style events for Bernie Sanders. And then I switched over and covered Hillary Clinton, which was like full stop the opposite of that. I mean, you walk into these arenas, and that's how they treat him. They treat him like a rock star. And I will say that his campaign has made some changes to the way they've run things that tell me that they clearly learned from 2016 and some of the mistakes they made. I mean, their slogan is sharper. I mean, not me, us. Right? Does any other candidate have some like 3 words like that that explain to you exactly what their message is?
That's a great slogan too.
And it's much stronger than what they had, where they were kind of copying the Obama playbook with the language in 2016. They've changed. They're doing some smaller events. They're actually putting him with voters face to face, not just keeping him in these big rock style venues. And they've focused in on a process that you could argue really hurt them last time.
How are the smaller events going?
Well,
yes, I support what you're saying. How's that working?
Joe, come on.
I'm having fun. It's a Larry David thing. You can't look at him without thinking about Larry David. But
I certainly am not going to argue that he's the most personable candidate necessarily in the race. But they're making him do it, and to his credit, he's doing it. He doesn't like it. He's never liked it.
Must be personable to somebody.
I got to say, for me at least, I loved, and I said this other day, when he was on CNN and he faked a smile. Somebody said, "Oh, Senator, I love you so much." He was like, he faked a smile. That actually made me love him more. I was like, okay, wait a second. He's just not going to play the game
and his
the way the elites want him to play the game. Yep. And I loved that in him. I love the fact that the guy's real. Talk about Bernie, but also let's talk really quickly, because we haven't talked about the person who seems to have the surge going right now, Amy.
That's right. I mean, first of all, I do think that you're right, that Bernie Sanders is true to himself. And that's part of the reason why the supporters like him. He's not going to pretend to be anything else. He's not going to suddenly recast his campaign to try to appease some other group or the media. I mean, he is going to be him. And like it is, and in that way, I mean, certainly the passion of the supporters, as we were saying before, is reminiscent of what President Trump draws out of his fans. That it's sort of people who are willing to follow him anywhere because they believe in him. Yes, Amy Klobuchar certainly seems to be also peaking at the right time here. We went to one of her events yesterday. It was a smaller event, but it she certainly was well received at a Rotary Club in Nashville. Willie and I are there, and Mike and Alex. And it was, she added an event late last night here in Manchester. She had 5 or 6 yesterday. They're seeing her people believe that this is a moment here where she can put up a strong number to sort of propel her going forward. And especially with the vice president seemingly fading, if that were to happen, she sort of steps into that moderate lane. She's competing with Pete Buttigieg for the alternative position to Bernie Sanders. It seems like she'd been even siphoning some support from Elizabeth Warren. Now, Senator Warren does have a good ground game here in New Hampshire. There's a chance that she will perhaps exceed expectations. And I think it's that third place finish that's going to be so key tonight. If we do believe Bernie's going to win potentially by a decent spread, Buttigieg second, it's who's going to be third. Biden, Klobuchar, Warren. That's really going to be important.
All right.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.